Good morning, fellow pilgrims. Day 22 begins. I set off from Astorga. I have just under 23 kilometers ahead of me today. That's about 14 miles. I only have one small problem. I don't know where I have to go. Mike hasn't told me yet. He has booked the next few days in advance. Because of Easter week, all the hostels are full, so we planned in advance. He did it in no time at all on his mobile phone. He must already be genius level 3 at booking, for sure. He then left me at the breakfast table and set off. I hope he writes me a message so I know where to go. Today we had the best breakfast since Puente la Reina. So it's been ages, and today was super cozy, informal and warm. One superlative after another, and I'll put the link in the video description. So if you ever come by here, you have to treat yourself to the albergue. It's really beautiful. Yes, and as I said, the procession yesterday didn't start until 10 p.m. That was very late, and it didn't stop until after midnight. The procession wasn't as big as in Leon. Of course, Astorga is smaller. It was just a small band, a small group of people marching. Then came a funny situation. I think yesterday, Real Madrid were playing FC Barcelona, and suddenly a cheer went up from a football pub, and all these people dressed in red and white turned round to this bar. They wanted to know the current score of the football match. Then they whispered amongst themselves, "What's the score now?" And only then did the procession continue. So it's all very secular here. See you on the way. See you later. Dad is still on his adventure. Today is already day 22. It's not far to Santiago de Compostela, but Dad still has a few more days to go. I have you in my heart. I'm thinking of you. When you're older, maybe you'll understand at some point why Dad is walking the path. And sometimes you have to go a long way to find your courage again, your joy and love. But it's worth it, because if you walk, you'll eventually reach your destination. Yes, then the sun shines on your face again. But sometimes there are times when you don't feel so good, but they don't last forever. I still have 260 kilometers to Santiago. I love you, family. See you later. Mouse, mouse, make a beep. Beep. Departure from Astorga. Destination not yet known. On the way from Astorga to Rabanal del Camino, I think it will be pretty easy, around 20 kilometers today, and it's already slightly uphill, but the hard day won't come until tomorrow. And yes, I'm in a good mood here on the way of St. James. The weather is good, and we were talking at breakfast today about how we're all so grateful that the weather is so fantastic at this time of year, that we haven't had any rain since Pamplona. And yes, every day you still somehow look for a reason why you might not be feeling well. Yes, what's wrong? What's not right? Today, for example, we had a fantastic breakfast, and all we said was, yes, that's the first good breakfast we've had in 10 days. You can just be grateful for what you have at the moment, and we've somehow forgotten how to do that. But maybe we'll find our way back to a place where you recognize more what the moment gives you. A stork lives up there on the church tower. You often see that a stork lives up here on the church. There are lots of bulls here. Is that a sign?
Hi.
I've arrived at the albergue. Today was really easy, but nice.
Heute war wirklich easy, aber schön.
And who do I see there, enjoying his leisure time?
Genießend.
It is Mike. I want to join him straight away.
Will ich mich gleich anschließen. Aber
But first a shower. That's where I'm sleeping tonight. That's the albergue. That's where we're sleeping tonight. There are only 3 of us in a 10-bed room. That's quite comfortable. We only pay $10 per night. Hello, kids. I hope your health is much better again. Sometimes you feel alone. I also often feel alone when I'm traveling during the day. I'm also alone all the time. I really do hike alone here on this trail and only meet up with people I already know in the evenings. And I also meet new people and get to know new people from all over the world. I spoke to the Australian Giovanni again today. It's an Italian name, but he's from Australia, and I had a long chat with him today. I just wanted to tell you, sometimes it's also valuable to be alone, because you can also draw strength from loneliness. You can also feel strong when you do something on your own. You don't always have to have someone with you. Maybe mom isn't there, or your brother, or even dad, but then you know you can still do something. You can still get something done because you're with yourself and you're watching yourself do something. And that can also make you happy. And it then even feels nicer when everyone is together again, when your brother is there, your mom and dad. And when we're all together, it's all that much nicer because you appreciate all the things you had to miss for a while. But when you're together again, you feel all the happier and more cheerful. And then you just want to hug everyone and hold them in your arms for a very, very long time. And you know what? That's exactly what I'm looking forward to when I'm with you again, that you can hold me in your arms and that I can hold you in mine. But there will be some time before then, and you don't need to worry. I'm fine and I'm safe here on the road, and I'll get to my destination. I'll get as far as Finisterre. When I get there, when I get to Finisterre, then we'll talk, because then I'll call you directly. Then you can see what I see, and I can see what you see. I love you, your dad. See you tomorrow. Have a good sleep.
Dann rufe ich euch nämlich direkt an. Dann könnt ihr sehen, was ich sehe. Und ich kann sehen, was ihr seht. Ich hab euch lieb. Euer Papa. Bis morgen. Schlaft schön. Guten Abend aus Rabanal del Camino.
Good evening from Rabanal del Camino. Day 22 is coming to an end, and tomorrow is already day 23. This morning we set off from Astorga, and the very first thing I did was to look for a cash machine, because I was out of cash. So I first had to add a bit of cash, and of course that was a bit easier in this larger town. And yes, the walk today was one of the shortest, at least it felt that way, on the whole Camino. It was 20 kilometers, but it flew by. I think that was due to the good breakfast. The good breakfast. Our host mother, whom I would like to praise highly, made her whole house available to us, as she also lives there and shared her living room, kitchen, and other rooms with us. She considered us her family. She gave us all a long, long, long hug when we said goodbye. That was when we said goodbye in the morning. She hugged each and every one of us for a very, very long time and wished us all the best. We were her family. We are her family. And she also remembered every pilgrim by name. She also spoke to the pilgrims from time to time and addressed them by name and asked how they were doing and so on. So she loves the Camino, like most people here, by the way. And I have to say, I'm still under the impressions from Lyon. Of course, they were reinforced a little by yesterday's impressions. There was also a small procession, but the deep faith that prevails here and the people who are really deeply rooted in their religion, that leaves its mark, even on me. And I've already said, If I become Catholic at the end of this trip, then that's it. I can't help it. It just happened that way, and I'm sorry about it. Yes, the journey today was mainly along a road. But then at some point the path took a bend and we ended up, and we were then led through a really marvelous fairy tale forest. That's what the Germans said I met, who I met again and again said. And that's exactly it. You could have lingered at any point to look into the forest. If you'd had the patience, you would definitely have seen a fairy or several. Yes, and then I just walked and walked and walked, and I really lost track of time. For the first time, I was completely oblivious to time. I wandered and forgot the time, and at some point I look at my mobile phone and realize I'm almost there. I'm almost there. It's only another 5 kilometers or so, I thought to myself. It wasn't even lunchtime yet. That can't be right either. And then I just stopped off somewhere. I used the next village. I went to the supermarket, which wasn't a supermarket at all. It was more like a corner where you could just sit down and relax. And there was a very, very labyrinthine shop with several rooms that spanned several blocks of flats. It was a shop where you could find all sorts of things, all sorts of clicks. And then I just stocked up on drinks and bars. Oh, there's a cat. Then I went outside, and who did I meet? The Germans again, of course, who had already said goodbye to us yesterday because they thought they were walking a little slower and probably wouldn't see us again. But we saw each other again and had a long chat and a drink together. Even then we lost track of time a bit. And at some point I set off and then took 2 more breaks and let the drone fly a bit. I met 2 other Americans from Wisconsin who I spoke to, and there were a lot of pilgrims on the road. Really, really many. There are some who only start their pilgrimage in Lyon. And then there are all the Spaniards who are just now on their holidays to go on pilgrimage, many by bike. And that's why you're never really alone. Yes, the topic, the question of whether you meet God and so on, this question still resonated a bit. That wasn't the main topic that occupied me today. But what left a very, very deep impression was that I don't think I've ever seen so many crosses as I did today on the path. I entered a forest that seemed so bunny. Sandy, dry ground, the trees very twisted, and it wasn't scary. It was actually really beautiful, like a forest in the desert that had been left to dry out. That's what it looked like. I went in there. And at the first fork in the road there was a big rusty cross in the center and a few, and then I walked along a fence and the fence was full of crosses. With crosses. People had pushed sticks together to make it look like crosses, so the cross was omnipresent today. There was even a table that I walked past that I thought was the kind of table you rest at. It was very modern, very, very, very smooth and very angular and very high. It looked very high quality. And then there was an engraving on it for a pilgrim who had lost his life at this spot a few years ago. And I've mentioned this before. It happens here on the Camino that you come across these places where you are reminded that pilgrims were traveling there, who at a certain point, their journey ended at this point. And it moves me every time. But today I somehow saw that very often. But then there were also crosses that just stood there without remembering anyone. And that somehow characterized the route today, and also my mood. Although it didn't dampen my mood, but rather internalized it a little. That's what I'd like to say. Yes, and then I was here. It's a bit of a contrast to yesterday and to Leon and all the big places we've been to. The village here is a real village. We've just been invited by 3 funny Spaniards who came to our table. They said, "Yes, come on, we're going to do a ceremony here and worship the Earth Mother and, you know, ayahuasca. Why don't you just come round? Just come round," I said. "I'm tired. Maybe later. Be that as it may." There are big gardens here that are really beautiful. There's a beautiful garden at the back, for example, with homemade furniture and stuff, where people have sat down to drink wine. And here someone is still drying their socks or whatever it is. The hostel is small, but we have it almost to ourselves. I think it's a 10-bedroom and there's only 3 of us in it, and that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And then, as I said, it's also Easter week. Tomorrow is Good Friday. And tomorrow morning there is a very special Mass at 6:30 a.m. here in the church, in the village, which is also held especially for pilgrims. And we've already been invited. We were also invited to a Gregorian chant today. We went there and I realized that there was a bit of that southern mentality that nobody knows exactly when anything starts. Yesterday evening, I also asked when the procession starts. Nobody knew. Sometime in the evening, just before 7 o'clock. It will already start. Someone will start. They also said, yes, we just started at some point. The official time was 7 p.m., but they somehow started at 6 p.m. When you hear something, you just have to go there. And I think that's how it is. You hear something. Ah. There's something, and then you go there and the others have heard it too. There's something, and then you meet there, and then people just stand there for an hour chatting, and nobody knows when it's going to start. The time is completely irrelevant, because the main thing for everyone is that they meet and talk to each other. The time doesn't matter at all. It's just a number. And you have to say something or other, but then everyone has a different time. Yes. And then I had lots of interesting conversations today. We met the Australian again and many others. Everyone here has their own life story, and each life story could fill several books. And I want to keep this video short this time. That's why I'm just going to end it. And I don't have any more wisdom for you now. I'll just call it a day and tell you, tomorrow morning we have 30 kilometers on the agenda and we're going somewhere in the mountains. Tomorrow. It's going to be really tough tomorrow. It's going to be hard. Tomorrow it's just going to be hard. It's just going to be hard. It's just like that. It's just really, really exhausting. But I've recharged all my batteries, including my own. I've eaten properly today. I drank a lot. I drank a lot of water. I bought another whole bottle of orange juice just to get me through the day. Tomorrow there are 3 domes to conquer, so 3 big climbs. At the end of the day, we'll probably all be very exhausted. I don't know if it's the hardest stage again, but it sounded like it. It sounded like everyone agreed that tomorrow would be the hardest part. And then it might get easier again. But it might also be the most beautiful part. The Germans in particular said that from now on, it will only get better. That's what they said. Yes, it's only going to get better from now on. And there are still 10 days or so left on the program. But I'm a bit dreading tomorrow, I have to be honest. I'm dreading tomorrow a little. But I've made it so far without a break. And I'm going to keep going without a break. We're going all the way to Santiago de Compostela. And the last third is in full swing. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us on the pilgrimage. And thank you for your comments, for your support. Thank you very, very much. I get it, that's for sure. Even if I can't reply to everything. But I get it all. I'm hiking all day, and I usually have my mobile phone in my pocket. We'll continue tomorrow. I don't know the location yet. Mike hasn't told me yet. I don't know where I have to go. All I know is that I have to hike 30 kilometers. 30 kilometers tomorrow. Yes, okay, yes. Follow the yellow arrows? Yes, I'll do that. Okay, we can do that. Maybe I'll go to that ayahuasca ceremony now too. Let's see. No, of course I'm not doing that. No, that's rubbish, of course. Nah, they don't do that either. They're not serious. No, it's kind of just pseudo stuff. I just go to bed sensibly. Dad's bedtime now. Thank you for watching. Leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel and share the content. Thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow on the Camino Frances to Santiago de Compostela. See you tomorrow. Ciao.